Super Mario RPG, why don't you play with me? Probably because this isn't a two-player game and that I don't have any friends.
In the arms of the angel, fly away.
What to play? Mario RPG. Here you have a large, isometric role-playing game with tons of characters and environments. Let's play it. Let's talk about graphics first.
Cause graphics are everything. Cause graphics are everything.
Graphics are everything.
Along the way during the system's life, you begin to see the evolution of 3D graphics make its presence known, as the end of 2D-dominated era was being ushered in. While the system was largely unable to deliver on the promise of full 3D without custom hardware like the Super FX chip, this is a game where a lot of custom 3D assets were created and pre-rendered to use as sprites. The results, especially in this game, are incredible. I acknowledge that many RPG players would weigh story greater than I do in general. Look, it's not an epic or grand story, it's a typical Mario story. Everything you need to know about the content of the story is essentially in the first 3 minutes. The writing in this game gives a lot of character, making up for some of the sillier or simply non-existing story elements. As role-playing games go, and for the era, this game manages to be quite good. Maybe a bit simplified, but the idea did branch into the games of the Paper Mario series. Though developed by Square, there is definitely the feel of Nintendo having a hand in there as well. The most notable change is the addition of timed actions during battles, wherein you can affect the damage given or received by hitting the A button at the appropriate time, lending a bit of attention to the games where you can just look away at times as you keep on mashing the A button to default attack. This addition causes you to actually be present through the many battles. But lots of other attentions to detail are included, even down to the speed of the battles. Thankfully, many actions have a snappy feel to them, so that you don't feel like you're constantly waiting for attacks to animate. Given the hundreds of battles that can happen, shaving off a half second here or there ends up being very appreciated. You get 5 playable characters from which you can form a party of 3. It allows that bit of flexibility and customization you want, without overcomplicating anything through job changes or pages of spells. And all characters increase in experience points equally, whether you use them or not, which is great later in the game when you might decide, as I did, to permanently swap in a character you've largely ignored. Outside of battles, you get world exploration, including box hitting in classic Mario fashion, jump-oriented areas, and occasional puzzles. There aren't any real consequences to missing jumps when you're just wandering the world. Even if you fall in lava, the worst that happens is you get moved back to a slightly earlier place. The controller is really tight, although there were 1 or 2 areas which required isometric jumping that was a bit troublesome to do on the D-pad. A welcome addition are the lack of random battles. Battles are initiated by on-screen enemies whom you bump into to fight, or just as often bump into you. It means you can avoid them, or you can choose to fight them all. The game is pretty generous with save points, especially putting them near enough for boss fights. Overall though, this is definitely of the speed, character, and depth of a Nintendo game. It's heavy on fun and keeps things light, even if a tad challenging. Which brings me to my last point. Characters max level at 30. I fought almost all of the on-screen enemies and was very near the end. If you avoid a lot of battles along the way, you're just gonna have a hard time.